Scene opens wide on a slow-zooming aerial shot of Los Angeles at sunset. The skyline glows, the city glimmers, but beneath the glamour, a storm is quietly brewing. Narrator VO calm but arresting. Something unexpected just dropped in Hollywood. Something the tabloids are calling a fresh jab, a shocking accusation, and a feud reignited. A heartbeat, then cut to slow motion. Paparazzi flashes, Shanna Moakler stepping toward a waiting microphone, face steeled. Across the screen, a smiling family photo of Kourtney Kardashian and Travis Barker plays softly. Narrator VO. She's famous, she's outspoken, and she's no stranger to controversy. But this time, it's not just a celebrity spat. It's a story about family, betrayal, and pain that stretches back decades. Cut to black, then suddenly. Narrator VO. This is the story of Shanna Moakler, the Kardashians, and the accusation that's shaking social media to its core. Introduction. Why this story matters. Scene opens on the quiet interior of a podcast studio. Shanna Moakler sits poised across from a host, mic in front of her. The atmosphere feels intimate but tense. Narrator VO. When Shanna Moakler sat down on the When Reality Hits podcast earlier this week, she wasn't there to promote a new project, sell a fragrance, or break a fashion trend. She was there to speak her truth, unfiltered, raw, and directed at one of the most famous families on the planet. Cut to a close-up of Shanna's face, eyes steady, voice measured but charged with emotion. Shanna, archival audio. I don't talk to that family. I don't like that family. Narrator VO. Whether you love her, hate her, or just scroll past celebrity headlines like this every day, this isn't just another feud. It's a collision of history, family upheaval, and unresolved wounds that haven't fully healed. Montage, paparazzi photos through the years, Shanna and Travis Barker on Meet the Barkers, glitzy Kardashian red carpet moments, Shanna's social media posts. Narrator VO. And in the center of it all, one question. What really happened between Shanna Moakler, Travis Barker, and the Kardashians, and why is she speaking out now? Background and setup, Part 1. Who is Shanna Moakler? Scene changes to archival footage from the early 2000s. A young Shanna Moakler on pageant stage, crowned Miss USA, confetti raining down. Narrator VO. Shanna Moakler wasn't born into Hollywood royalty. She wasn't handed fame. She earned it the old-fashioned way, with grit, beauty, and an ambition that carried her from beauty pageants to reality TV stardom. Cut to clips from Meet the Barkers. Laughter around a family table, Shanna's vivacious energy lighting up the screen. Narrator VO. Back in the mid-2000s, Shanna's life was closely intertwined with one of rock's most iconic drummers, Travis Barker of Blink-182. They married in 2004, built a family together, and shared the spotlight on the MTV reality series Meet the Barkers. Still photos of young kids, sons and daughters, running around a backyard. Narrator VO. They welcomed two beautiful children, Landon and Alabama, who would later grow up under the glare of public attention. But behind the camera, cracks were beginning to show. Cut to somber music, images fade to black and white. Narrator VO. By 2006, only 2 years into their marriage, the couple separated. Their divorce was finalized in 2008. But as anyone who's lived through a long split knows, the end of a marriage isn't always the end of the story. Background and setup, Part 2. Enter the Kardashians. Dynamic fast-cut montage of keeping up with the Kardashians, red carpets, magazine covers. Narrator VO. Meanwhile, across the entertainment world, the Kardashian universe was exploding. Their fame, influence, and cultural reach grew at lightning speed, and into that rising tide stepped Kourtney Kardashian. Image dissolves into Kourtney and Travis Barker together. Wedding photos, smiling. Narrator VO. In 2022, after years of friendship and public speculation, Travis Barker and Kourtney Kardashian became one of Hollywood's most talked-about couples and eventually parents to a son, Rocky. Cut to Shanna walking past paparazzi flashes, her expression unreadable. Narrator VO. But for Shanna Moakler, that happy chapter for Travis and Kourtney didn't erase the past. In fact, it rekindled questions she's carried with her for years. Background and Setup, Part 3. The accusation that resurfaced it all. Scene: podcast host asking Shanna a question. Shanna sits upright, voice calm but intense. Podcast host, archival audio. Have you and Kourtney ever had a real conversation about co-parenting? Shanna Moakler, archival audio. I don't think those women have those conversations with anybody. Narrator Vo. Her words were sharp, but it was the reason behind them that sent social media into a frenzy. Shanna didn't just criticize how things are being done. She hinted that lines were crossed in the blended family dynamic, and even referenced a decades-old claim involving a member of the Kardashian clan. Quick flash of old tabloids, gossip headlines. Narrator Vo. She suggested that years ago, during her marriage with Travis, she received messages alleging an inappropriate relationship between Barker and Kim Kardashian. Something that, according to her, pushed her toward divorce. Cut to a slow close-up of Shanna's expression, thoughtful, maybe pained. Narrator Vo. Whether these messages were true, imagined, or somewhere in between, the shadow of that moment looms large, and now it's part of the current conversation. Scene opens on a glowing phone screen in a dimly lit room. Notifications ping relentlessly. Tweets, Instagram comments, TikTok videos, a digital storm. Narrator Vo. The moment Shanna's words hit the public, the reaction was instantaneous. Fans of the Kardashians clutched their phones, ready to defend their favorite family. Loyal Shanna supporters rallied, praising her for speaking her truth. Split screen. One side shows furious fans typing, the other shows Shanna quietly scrolling through her own mentions, her expression unreadable. Narrator Vo. But beyond the tweets and the memes, there was a deeper story unfolding, one about pain, jealousy, and unresolved trust. Slow zoom on Shanna's hands tightening into fists. Narrator Vo. She had chosen to speak publicly, not quietly behind closed doors. And once the words are out, there's no going back. Rising conflict, Part 2. The accusation deepens. Scene: dimly lit studio room. Shanna sits forward, leaning into the microphone, her voice steady but heavy with emotion. Shanna Moakler, archival audio. When I look back, I can't help but think, was this all a game? Were people really loyal? Or was it just Hollywood pretending? Narrator Vo. Her accusation wasn't just about Kourtney. She hinted at a larger pattern, about power, manipulation, and influence in a family that has mastered the art of image control. Montage of paparazzi photos, Kardashians at charity events, red carpets, always smiling, always polished. Narrator Vo. To the outside world, the Kardashians appear untouchable. But Shanna's words reminded the public, fame doesn't erase past betrayals, and it doesn't protect anyone from scrutiny. Rising conflict, Part 3. Emotional toll on family. Scene shifts to home videos of Shanna with her children, laughing, hugging, bedtime routines, a stark contrast to her public feud. Narrator Vo. Behind the cameras, behind the headlines, are children caught in the middle of adult conflicts. Shanna's two children, Landon and Alabama, grew up witnessing both love and heartbreak. And now, they are part of a conversation that none of them asked to be in. Slow motion. Alabama playing outside, glancing back at the camera, innocent eyes filled with curiosity. Narrator Vo. Imagine growing up in a world where the personal lives of your parents are dissected by millions. Every word, every glance, becomes a story. Every accusation, even if meant for public awareness, reverberates through your own family. Close up, Shanna's face, eyes glistening. Narrator Vo. And Shanna knows this better than most. Every time she speaks, she's balancing a tightrope between truth, catharsis, and protecting the ones she loves. Rising conflict, Part 4. Fan and media reactions. Scene cuts to montage, tabloid spinning headlines, YouTube commentary videos with flashing text, Viral TikToks using Shanna's podcast audio. Narrator Vo. The headlines didn't wait. Shanna Moakler blasts Kourtney Kardashian. Accusations resurface from ex of Travis Barker. Family drama turns ugly. Cut to clips of social media influencers speaking directly to the camera. Influencer 1. Honestly, it's shocking. I didn't expect Shanna to go this far. Influencer 2. But what if she's telling the truth? We've only ever seen one side. Narrator Vo. And just like that, a private history became a public debate. What started as a conversation about trust, respect, and loyalty turned into a cultural lightning rod. Zoom in on comment threads, emojis, heated debates, long-form threads analyzing every word of Shanna's statement. Narrator Vo. Some fans defended Shanna fiercely. Others called her accusations unfounded. And in the middle of it all, Shanna remained calm, watching the story unfold exactly as she predicted. Rising Conflict. Part 5. Shanna's Psychological Motivation. Scene transitions to a dark, quiet room. Shanna sits alone, her reflection in the window looking back at her. Narrator Vo. Why now? Why bring this up after all these years? To understand Shanna, you must understand her psyche. Slow fade. Archival photos of Shanna and Travis together. Intimate moments. Smiles that mask tension. Narrator Vo. She's a woman shaped by fame, love, betrayal, and resilience. Every decision she makes is filtered through a lens of experience, of loss, of survival, of lessons learned the hard way. Close up, Shanna's eyes, intense but vulnerable. Narrator Vo. This jab at the Kardashians isn't just a headline. It's a statement of identity, a way to reclaim narrative control, a chance to say, I was here, I experienced this, and I won't be silenced. Rising Conflict, Part 6. The tension with Kourtney. Scene cuts to paparazzi footage of Kourtney Kardashian, smiling on a red carpet, then a sudden cut to her looking contemplative in a private moment. Narrator Vo. Kourtney, for her part, has remained mostly silent. She rarely comments on the feud, choosing to focus on her own family and business empire. Split screen. Shanna speaking passionately in a podcast, Kourtney walking quietly with Travis, hand in hand. Narrator Vo. But silence doesn't erase tension. Every glance, every public appearance, every media snippet is interpreted, by fans, by Shanna, by the world, as a potential message. Slow motion. Paparazzi flashbulbs pop as Shanna walks past. Narrator Vo. And with fame this intense, even a whisper can ignite a wildfire. Rising Conflict, Part 7. Unexpected twists ahead. Scene cuts to dramatic music, news headlines spinning faster, social media algorithms exploding. Narrator Vo. What happens next? Will Kourtney respond? Will Travis intervene? Or will this simmer into a quiet tension that fades over time? Close up, Shanna, thoughtful, looking out a window as night falls over Los Angeles. Narrator Vo. No one can say for sure. But what is clear, this is not just a story of celebrity drama. It's a story about human emotion, jealousy, loyalty, and the price of fame. Text overlay on screen. What would you do if you were in Shanna's shoes? Narrator Vo. And the truth is, in moments like these, we all wonder, how far would we go to speak our truth, even if it costs everything? Scene opens in a quiet studio, cameras slowly circling Shanna Moakler as she sits in soft light, hands clasped, voice steady but tinged with emotion. Narrator Vo. Just when the public thought they understood the story, Shanna dropped a revelation that no one saw coming. Shanna Moakler, archival audio. There's something people don't know, something that happened years ago that I've carried with me. And it involves the Kardashians, Kourtney, and Travis. Cut to close-ups of shocked faces on social media reaction videos, text messages flying across the screen, news headlines flashing. Shanna Moakler reveals shocking Hollywood secret. Narrator Vo. Her words weren't just a jab. They were an accusation, one that hinted at manipulation, betrayal, and the kind of personal entanglements that Hollywood thrives on but rarely admits. Major twist. Part 2. The details emerge. Slow montage. Los Angeles streets at night. Paparazzi flashes. Flashing headlines. Shanna walking pensively along a pier. Narrator Vo. According to Shanna, during the height of her marriage to Travis Barker, there were interactions she describes as inappropriate, not in the public eye, but behind the scenes, whispered, shared, and kept quiet. Shanna Moakler archival audio, voice trembling slightly. I was told things that I can't unhear, and at the time I felt powerless. That's why I left. That's why I moved on. Cut to old photos of Travis Barker with the Kardashian family, juxtaposed with Shanna's archived social media posts, expressing frustration and sadness. Narrator Vo. What makes this twist explosive is the timing. Her accusations weren't just about past pain. They came as Travis and Kourtney's relationship was flourishing publicly. A timing that fans couldn't ignore. Emotional peak, Part 1. Shanna's internal struggle. Scene transitions to Shanna alone in her Los Angeles home, night settling in. Soft piano music plays. She looks at old family photos, her children as toddlers, happy faces, laughter frozen in time. Narrator Vo. For Shanna, this isn't just about fame or revenge. It's about closure. It's about reclaiming her voice after years of silence. Shanna Moakler, archival audio. I had to say it. I had to tell the world because it's the only way I could feel free. Free from the weight I've carried for years. Cut to slow-motion clips of her children, emphasizing innocence and the cost of public life. Narrator Vo. She's exposing herself to scrutiny, criticism, and potential backlash, all while navigating the delicate responsibility of being a mother. That tension, that human struggle, is what makes this story resonate beyond celebrity gossip. Emotional peak. Part 2. Public reactions and backlash. Scene cuts to a flurry of social media activity. Comments, TikToks, fan pages, influencer breakdowns. Screens split to show divided public opinion. Narrator Vo. Some hailed her courage. Many criticized her timing. Others questioned the veracity of her claims. But across all reactions, one thing was undeniable. Shanna Moakler had reignited a conversation that Hollywood didn't want to have publicly. Clips of YouTube commentary channels, some defensive, some empathetic. Influencer 1. I respect her bravery. No one should feel silenced, especially when it comes to personal boundaries. Influencer 2. But is this really the truth, or just an old feud resurfacing for attention? Narrator Vo. And that question, truth versus perception, would become the heartbeat of this unfolding saga. Emotional peak. Part 3. The human psychology behind the feud. Scene slows, focusing on Shanna reflecting while walking alone along a beach at sunset. Waves crash, horizon glowing. Narrator Vo. This story isn't just about Hollywood, fame, or gossip. It's about human emotion, jealousy, fear, doubt, and the need to be heard. Cut to intimate close-up. Shanna breathing slowly, looking at the ocean. Narrator Vo. Her decision to speak publicly is deeply rooted in psychology. After a marriage, after betrayal, after seeing your former partner build a new life, you face a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. Pain, anger, curiosity, even lingering affection. Shanna Moakler, archival audio. I've had to process my feelings in every way imaginable, and finally, I realized silence wasn't helping me heal. Narrator Vo. And when someone finally chooses to speak, the world watches, dissecting every word, judging every motive, while forgetting the human heart behind it all. Climax. Part 1. Shanna stands her ground. Scene. Shanna appears on a live broadcast, speaking directly to the camera, calm and unwavering. Shanna Moakler, archival audio. I don't want to hurt anyone. I don't want drama. But I also won't sit quietly while people rewrite history. This is my story. My truth. And it deserves to be told. Cut to slow-motion shots. Social media feeds exploding, fans debating, journalists scribbling notes, paparazzi cameras flashing. Narrator Vo. In that moment, the public realized this was no longer a story about celebrity squabbles. It was about courage, about speaking your truth in a world that wants silence. Climax. Part 2. Tension between families. Scene cuts to Travis Barker and Kourtney Kardashian attending a charity event, glancing at their phones as notifications explode. Tension lingers in subtle glances. Narrator Vo. And for the Kardashians, the story hit close to home. Every comment, every share, every viral clip amplified the pressure. Close-up of Kourtney's hand subtly tightening around Travis' arm. He glances at her, expression unreadable. Narrator Vo. In Hollywood, even the strongest families can't escape the ripple effects of public revelations. And in this case, those ripples are still spreading. Climax. Part 3. The public's moral dilemma. Montage. Fans arguing online, split opinions, debates spilling into mainstream media. Text overlay. Hashtag Team Shanna versus hashtag Team Kardashian. Narrator Vo. The audience itself became part of the story. People didn't just read the headlines, they took sides. They debated morality, loyalty, and truth. Close up, average viewer scrolling on a phone, brow furrowed, questioning their own assumptions. Narrator Vo. And that's the power of the story. It forces a reflection. What would you do if your past, your marriage, your private life became a headline? How would you navigate loyalty, love, and the desire for justice in a world that sees everything? Scene opens with a newsroom bustling, flashing headlines spinning across screens. Shanna Moakler versus Kardashians, the fallout. Celebrity feud reignites. Fans react wildly to podcast revelation. Narrator Vo. Once the accusation hit, the media didn't rest. Every network, blog, and social media platform dissected Shanna's words, amplifying tension, speculation, and judgment. Split screen. A group of fans debating on TikTok, commentators arguing on YouTube, Twitter threads exploding. Narrator Vo. Some hailed her bravery. Others questioned her motives. But no matter the angle, the story refused to fade quietly. Slow zoom on Shanna walking down a Los Angeles street, sunglasses on, expression unreadable. Narrator Vo. And for Shanna, the aftermath wasn't just external. It was personal. Every notification, every comment, every share was a reminder that speaking your truth can come with consequences you cannot predict. Aftermath. Part 2. The human cost. Scene shifts to Shanna at home, sitting on a couch, her children playing quietly nearby. Narrator Vo. Even as adults, the decisions we make ripple into the lives of those we love. For Shanna, that means navigating motherhood under the relentless gaze of the public. Close-up of her hand gently brushing her daughter's hair, then staring at old photos of her family. Narrator Vo. The human cost of celebrity isn't measured in money or fame. It's measured in trust, privacy, and the quiet moments you wish the world wouldn't see. Soft piano music plays as the scene lingers on her contemplative expression. Reality check, Part 1. Behind Hollywood glamour. Scene shifts to a high-angle shot of Los Angeles at night, city lights twinkling. Narrator Vo. It's easy to look at headlines and judge, to assign blame or declare loyalty. But the reality behind Hollywood glamour is far more complex. Slow motion, paparazzi flashes, red carpet smiles, magazine covers. Narrator Vo. Shanna Moakler's story reminds us that behind the glitz, there are human beings with fears, regrets, and desires, struggling with the same emotions we all face, just under a brighter spotlight. Reality check, Part 2. The lessons in truth and silence. Scene. Shanna looking out a window, Los Angeles skyline reflected in her eyes. Narrator Vo. Her decision to speak publicly wasn't about revenge or drama. It was about reclaiming her narrative, about refusing to let history be rewritten. Cut to clips of fans reflecting on social media, some nodding in understanding, others debating morality. Narrator Vo. And the lesson is universal. Silence can protect us, but it can also trap us. Speaking out can feel dangerous, but it can also liberate. Close up, Shanna taking a deep breath, letting out a subtle exhale of relief. Unforgettable ending, Part 1, Reflection and Hope. Scene transitions to a quiet beach at sunrise. Waves lap gently, horizon glowing with warm light. Shanna walks barefoot, contemplative. Narrator Vo. In the end, this story isn't about celebrities. It's about courage. About facing the past, acknowledging the pain, and choosing to speak, even when it's hard, even when it's messy, even when the world is watching. Slow motion. Shanna kneeling to pick up a shell, holding it thoughtfully in her hand. Narrator Vo. Shanna Moakler's words ripple far beyond headlines. They challenge us to consider, how do we confront truth in our own lives? When do we speak, and when do we hold back? Unforgettable ending, Part 2, The Lingering Impact. Scene fades to black and white archival footage. Shanna and her children laughing in the past, then Travis and Courtney at a red carpet. Narrator Vo. The feud may continue. Headlines will come and go. But the emotional weight, the raw, human truth, lingers. It reminds us that behind every scandal, every accusation, every viral headline, there is a human story. Soft fade. Shanna standing at the edge of the pier, looking out to the horizon, the sun breaking through the clouds. Narrator Vo. And sometimes, that story is more powerful than any headline. Unforgettable ending,